Hello, welcome to IAS Factor. We are continuing with the Ancient India revision series for the UPSC examination. So let's get this correct because we'll start off with the next session because we already discussed about the Stone Age, and the next important content that we have to discuss today is the Indus Valley Civilization, because the strategy is the same. The strategy remains the same because we have already completed one session, you already know, because we'll focus on the timeline and we'll focus on the main perspectives. That will be the most important. We'll focus on the timeline, we'll focus on the perspectives, and apart from the timeline and perspectives, we'll get some important facts. So as you know, the facts are unlimited, they are infinite. Regarding this, we'll take only the most important facts that will be useful for the UPSC examination or your prelims examination. Okay, so that will be the content, and let's go into the session. Let's start today's session, and here we go. So with me, you can read about more. And moving on to the Harappan culture, Bronze Age urbanization in the Indus Valley. This is a revision to definitely. I'll give you a brief narrative and the most important point. So why is this picture added? Because when we talk about Indus Valley Civilization, always understand we have already seen the prehistoric period, the upper period, the middle period, the lower Paleolithic period, the Mesolithic period, and the Chalcolithic period. So in between the Mesolithic and Chalcolithic, you can see Indus Valley Civilization is coming in. So do not have a confusion that Indus Valley and Harappan, they are both different cities. Harappa is different and Mohenjo-daro is different. Mohenjo-daro, the word means the mount of the dead. Mohenjo-daro means the mount of the dead. So Mohenjo-daro and Harappa are different culture. To get an idea, you need to have a clear-cut idea regarding this. Take a look at this map. So Harappa is see both the places now, you can see both of them are now in Pakistan. So very difficult to literally go and watch all these places because all of them are in a different places. So get this idea correctly. So Mohenjo-daro and Harappa are both different city. And do you remember Mehergarh? In the last session I told you the earliest agriculture settlement, wheat, barley, remember Mehergarh. So both of this, when you talk about Harappa and Indus Valley, always understand, does not mean that there are only two cities involved in this. There are many number of cities, and like Lothal. So during this time, do not have a feeling that the Indus Valley Civilization only means that it is actually confined to Harappa, it is confined to Mohenjo-daro, it is confined to this region. No, in many parts of the India there are many Indus Valley sites. So Harappa is one side, Mohenjo-daro is one side, Chanhudaro, Kalibangan, Surko, obviously Shortugai, Dholavira. There are many sites that we have to remember. All these are sites. These sites show the various aspects of this period. So this period is important, and out of this you can see this Mohenjo-daro was a great and a bigger town. Like there is another Chanhudaro, Kot Diji, all of these are famous towns. So it was a bigger town. So that is the most idea that you have to get according to this. Get this idea. Okay, and why do you think I kept this picture? Because I started off this session with this picture. This person is the representation called as the priest king. There is a very famous historian, he's called as the priest king, and the famous theory was postulated by the famous writer A.L. Basham, because he's a very popular writer. A.L. Basham, he's the one who has written the book The Wonder That Was India, Ancient India. That's a very popular book. I don't know whether you get time, but definitely maybe after some time in your free time, it's a good read. The book is called The Wonder That Was India. It's written by A.L. Basham. So in this book, he really talks, when you see the Indus Valley, you will actually be amazed to know that the streets, the culture, the sophistication, the technology, the cosmopolitan outlook, everything that they had resembled a modern society. Just imagine, we are talking about years and years and years ago. So in that time, to create this kind of modernity in a civilization, you need a huge planning, you need a huge coordination, you need huge planning for that. So, do you think there was a king in Indus Valley? This is a disputed fact. A lot of people say there was no king, there was no system. But how do you think this system, this kind of modernity, how do you think without the control group of people, how can you create all this? So A.L. Basham in Wonder That Was India likely say that there might be a priest king, and even a headless statue was actually found from it's actually in the museum, which is actually very much similar to this. That is, the statue is called as the priest king. This is just a AI depiction of this, but this is the concept of priest king. They can ask you, so that is why I just threw some points on that. Okay, so now let's take the points immediately. Let's get the facts for the examination. These are the most important facts, and whatever I'm teaching you, I'm teaching minus art and culture. Whatever I'm teaching you is minus art and culture, which I'll teach in the next session. Art and culture will be separate session. This is just the normal thing. So it is the first urban culture in the Indian subcontinent. Before even Mohenjo-daro, Harappan was the first. Not Mohenjo-daro, Harappa was the first. 2600 to 1900 BC. The matured phase is in 1900 BC. Named after Harappa, the first excavated site by Dayaram Sahni. So D.R. Sahni was the great historian who discovered this area. In those times, the Britishers were really constructing the places. They were constructing railway lines. That is when they realized that the old civilization was in shambles. Spread across Pakistan and northwestern India, over 1,400 sites were discovered. So we are just talking about Indus Valley, Indus, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, etc. More than 1,400 sites are part of this. So Dayaram Sahni name is important. So you can see Harappan as early, mature and late Harappan. So 3,300 to 2,600, 2,600 to 1,900, 1,900 to 1,300. So starting from 3,300 to 1,300, it is going backwards. We can divide the pre-urban, urban and post-urban. That is the most important thing. So villages, so first early means you have villages, small towns and initial craft. Matured means the peak of urban development. So this is the best phase of modernity. And late Harappan means post-urban, the decline phase, the deurbanization and rural shift. So one thing you have to understand, when Harappan civilization declined, how did it decline? People say flood happened, earthquake happened, river dried up. There are so many theories which say Harappan declined, but do not feel that it collapsed completely. Imagine there were 1,000 people in Harappa. One fine morning, everybody died. No, it is not that way. From urbanization, it shifted to ruralization. They started to live in a rural life. That ruralization is important. That is what is called as a rural shift. So get this correct. One fine morning, everybody died. No, it went into a ruralized phase. Slowly, it went into a ruralized phase. So mature, remember this, mature, late Harappan points are very important. And what is the geopolitical extent, or the geographical extent? It is almost 1.3 million square kilometer, larger than Egyptian civilization and larger than Mesopotamian civilization. So all these are parallel. So you can see major sites as Harappa, we know, Punjab, Mohenjo-daro, Dholavira in Gujarat, Kalibangan in Rajasthan, Lothal in Gujarat, Rakhigadi in Haryana, Banavali, Surkotada, Chanhudaro, Kot Diji. These are all the most popular. See, when you learn this area, when you hear a site, when you know that there is a site, from each site you should be able to know at least one or two important facts. Like Harappa, what is it? Talk about the Great Bath Granary. Mohenjo-daro, where is it? So, see, the Great Bath, is it in Harappa or Mohenjo-daro? The granary is in Harappa or Mohenjo-daro? The citadel, do you have citadel in Harappa? We need to differentiate. Dholavira, do you find a large reservoir? Kalibangan, fire altar. Lothal, do you have an artificial dockyard? Is it in Lothal? So likewise, Kot Diji, did fire kill the whole city? Likewise, Surkotada, do you find hose bonds from Surkotada? Which place? See, I'm asking this question, so please try understand. This is the level which we need to have. You need not remember everything, but get some important fact. Where exactly is this? Now we'll locate each and everything. Okay. So let's find it out. Geographical extent, you can just take a look at this. Over 2000 Harappan sites have been discovered and spread across modern day Pakistan. And the Saraswati, the Ghagar Hakra basin, had the highest density of sites pointing to the. So, this river, Saraswati, which we say is a mythical river, Saraswati used to be there, and we call the Ghagar Hakra river, because this was a great lifeline to the Indus people, and later on Ghagar Hakra dried. That is one reason why people say Indus Valley declined. The drying up of Ghagar Hakra, it dried, it got dried. So know about this. And this is what the most important thing. Let's Harappa. Let's take the granary in Harappa, cemetery, public buildings are all in Harappa. Mohenjo-daro, the Great Bath is not in Harappa. The Great Bath is in Mohenjo-daro. The drainage system, the private wells are all in Mohenjo-daro. This is just a generalization. Okay, do not say that Harappa did not have drainage. No, that is not the idea of this. Most popular system, they were most popular in these cities. Dholavira, I just said water reservoir. 3-tiered city planning. Dholavira had a 3-tier city planning. All these can be questions. Lothal in Gujarat, both of them is in Gujarat. They had artificial dockyard, bead making workshops. And also understand Kalibangan in Rajasthan is a plowed field and fire altar. Fire altar is the most important thing for Kalibangan. So these places had all these things. Rakhi Gadi in Haryana. Recently, current affairs, there was also some excavation going on. It's one of the largest urban centers in those times is Rakhi Gadi. Banavali in Haryana. Fortifications and early agriculture activity. Shortugai in Afghanistan. Evidence of trade with Central Asia. Now there are more, like Chanhudaro. They had a great factory, bead making factory. They use beads like jewelry, etc. So jewelry making factory, Shortugai, Surkotada. There are even more places. Code Digi. It's an exhaustive list. I just tried to put up the most important contents here. Even there are more cities which is important. So let's know the town planning and architecture. The cities were planned in grid pattern streets. Very, very important. You can see the cities like this. On both the sides, you had houses like this, and the streets were divided like this. The streets again went into different streets. It went into different streets, and houses were like this. It's a perfect street. Drainage system were really, really superb. Standardized bricks were also used. See, the drainage system that we talk about this time even did not exist in other civilization. It was a top notch. I can actually give you a small idea. Just imagine there was a street. There was some houses like this. And just imagine there was a large drainage pit like this. So each house is connected to the main drainage pit. Each house connected to the main drainage pit. And this drainage pit was top notch drainage pits in the sense it had a cleaning things like this. The water, all the drainage went into this. And on the top portion, there was something like this, like a net. So what happens is, the liquid waste goes into this and the top solid waste gets accumulated in this net. You can clear it later. So water is drained out. It's just like a filter. So the top waste lies in that and the liquid waste drains out of that. Fortunately not into reverse, but into different things. Just imagine the exact fantastic drainage system that they have. Do you think Indian cities now we have this kind of a system? Imagine rain, a heavy downpour happening in Indian cities. Just imagine the plight of the Indian cities, what really happens. You know it well. So use of bricks, very, very important. The ratio is 1:2:4 or 4:2:1. It can be, they can reverse it also. So this is standardized bricks, and they were using burnt bricks also. The use of burnt bricks is also important. And imagine the cities like Citadel and Lower Town. Just imagine there was two cities like this. The upper town and the lower town. Obviously, the lower town means the common people and the common markets used to place here. They used to get placed here. And the upper towns were the citadels where only rich people could go. If you have watched the movie Mohenjo-daro by Hrithik Roshan, they've at least shown some of the important factors. The common people cannot go into citadels only unless there is an important function or something. But usually the rich people used to live in the upper towns and lower people used to live there. So lower caste, or I mean lower, there was no caste type of a system, but lower people in the sense income equality, people who are poor, people who were doing business, trade, vending, etc. used to live there. So citadel, upper town for elites, granaries and ritual structures. Lower town for residential craftsmen. Drainage system was advanced, covered drains, inspection holes, etc. And burnt bricks, often two-storied. Presence of granaries, bathrooms, wells, bathing platforms are all town planning. Some houses were even two-storied buildings. Just imagine. And most of the houses would have a well like this. Most of the houses will have a well. And just imagine the privacy of these buildings. Imagine that this is a road and you have a house like this. You have a well here. So a traveler who is coming here can come into a house, drink water and continue the journey. But the entrance to the house is on the opposite side. This showed privacy. A person who comes goes to the back. So not all the houses, some houses were like this and some houses were multi-storied, two-storied buildings also. And bathrooms, wells, bathing platforms were all very, very popular in this. We'll discuss all of this main content in the art and culture sections also. So just understand. So what about the agriculture and subsistence economy? Most important crops like wheat, barley, peas, sesame, mustard, cotton, earliest in the world was found in these regions, Indus Valley. So which of the following other crops were found? Wheat, barley, peas, sesame, mustard was found. Cotton was also found, but no evidence of rice in mature phase, but found in late Harappan, Lothal. Rice was also found later in the mature phase. Irrigation was minimal, mostly from the floodplains of Indus and Gagra. Hakra is a very important river. And domestication means cattle was known to them, sheep was known to them, goat was known, pigs and buffaloes were all known to them. Use of bullock carts, evidence from Kalibangan. Granaries were used for food storage. You know, how do you know that bullock carts existed? They create seals. Indus had an important thing called seals. They had important thing called seals. Like you must have seen this important seals like thing. And toys were also created. Toy production for the children. Toys of bullock carts are found in Indus Valley. That is how these important things are important. That is why they are important, obviously. And wheat, barley, lentil, chickpea, sesame, millets in Gujarat. Limited rice remains. And tools like terracotta and copper tools were found. Kalibangan with furrows. So you can see the example of plowed field in Kalibangan. Next time you see plowed field, remember Kalibangan. So cattle, buffalo, all wild animals and fish bones were also found, suggesting hunting and fishing supplements diet. So fish was also found. Animals were also found. Wells, reservoirs and canals were possibly used at Shotugai. So next time when you see Shotugai, water reservoir in Dholavira, Shotugai means canals were also found in this region. So get this important points correctly. And next, moving on to the next important content. So this is about agriculture and subsistence economy. Now let's get this correct. What about the drainage and sanitation system? I already discussed the drainage. Every house had the drains connected to street level covered drains. Inspection holes for cleaning and were built with bricks and sometimes stone covers. As I said, remember this drain. Solid things used to come here. Beneath this the waste will come. The water will be released later and they will open it and clean the solid waste and they'll clean it up. Wastewater flowed into the soak pits or cesspits before entering the main drains. Even smaller towns like Lothal had constructed drainage. So these are all important parts of the drainage system. And what about the crafts, technology and industry? Harappans were skilled in like bead making, carnelian, faience, shell and semi-precious stone. The most important one is the lapis lazuli. See, I've reserved all this for the art and culture, okay? See, the reason why I'm not showing pictures is because art and culture is full of pictures. So lapis lazuli is the most important blue color stone. And pottery means painted redware, wheel made and copper, bronze used for tools. Like specialized production areas, Mohenjo-daro and Lothal, as I said, these were important areas of factories. So these places had more important factories like Mohenjo-daro and Lothal had important factories which were devoted to the craft, etc. So terracotta figurines, bangles, toys were widely used. So these are all factory productions. Remember these points. Discuss the other things in art and culture. What about the trade system? You know that Indus Valley was a parallel. a contemporary of the Egyptian, and most importantly, you can deliver it as a contemporary of the Mesopotamian civilization. So, how do you think the internal and external trade existed? So, have an idea. The urban centers to villages and specialized sites, bullock carts for overland trade and riverine trade. That is the most important thing that you can remember about the internal trade. When you look at the external trade aspect, you will find even the Mesopotamian records mention that Meluha, believed to be Harappa. So next time when you hear about the word Meluha, I'm sure you must have heard about the book called Immortals of Meluha by Amish. So the Meluha, according to the Mesopotamians, they refer Indus or the Harappa as Meluha. And even Bahrain was referred by the name Dilmun. So what did they externally trade? They traded semi-precious stones, beads, ivory, cotton, textile, and the dockyard in Lothal was a great thing which helped the maritime trade. So maritime trade, Lothal played a very pivotal part. If you check the Indian map, the Gujarat region is actually Lothal. So imagine it can trade with the other Mesopotamia and Egypt also. So the dockyard in Lothal is reconstructed by the government of India. The reason why it is constructed, it played a very strategic role in that time. That is Mesopotamia. And look at the scripts, seals and communication. The Harappan script remained undeciphered, pictographic in nature, and that is why it is called as the Boustrophidan. The Harappan script is called as Boustrophidan. You know why it is called Boustrophidan? We normally write English from left to right, Arabic like right to left. So Boustrophidan is like, after some time we'll understand the scripting. There is something called Kharoshthi and something called Brahmi script. Just imagine, for simple convenience, understand that the scripting, you write it from left to right and right to left. Boustrophidan is a scripting like this. You write like this. This type of writing is Boustrophidan. It's called Boustrophidan. So Indus scripts are more likely to be Boustrophidan, most likely, but most of them are undeciphered now. You know, Tamil Nadu government has given, offered, I think, I forgot the money that they have offered. They have offered money for anybody who is deciphering the script. So state governments have already huge offers for that. And remember the name of Iravatham Mahadevan, the very famous person, Iravatham Mahadevan, who spent his entire life decoding the Mahadevan, in decoding the Indus script. So seals appears on pictographic. Seals often feature animals like motifs like humped bull, unicorn. Unicorn means Ekashringa. It has only one horn horse. It's supposed to be mythical. We have no clues or no references as to prove that unicorn really existed. Elephant was known, inscriptions. So seals was also seen as a financial stuff because they were also used to trade. So some people say that seals can also be that kind of a thing. In those times it was used as a currency. Most probably it might be used for transactions also. That is why you call it as a seals. And most of the things will be dealt in the art and culture. Okay, and no religion and no temples or religious texts have been discovered. Terracotta figurines of mother goddess suggested fertility. So women worship, that means the goddess worship might be most popular during the Indus time. And tree worship was also there. The people tree was also worshipped. So the fire altars at Kalibangan points to possible ritualistic practice. The great bath is also a ritual practice. Animal and tree worship is suspected. The people tree, the horn deity on seals are all notable examples of that. So burial practices were also there. So rich evidence of ritual extravagance. What do you mean by this? When a person dies, he is buried. Normally he is buried in a pit, but sometimes you can see in history, people are even buried inside pots. This is what is called as the pot burial. They are even buried in pots. They are even buried in large jars. And when they are buried, the things for afterlife is also kept near this. That is an Egyptian culture. When a person dies, you put gold, clothes, arms, weapons, swords, bayonets. You put everything, which is a belief that when you die in the afterlife, you will require all of these things. That is the idea of all this. But in Indus Valley, you do not find very extravagant beliefs are not found here. So look at the houses were varied in size, which is showing social stratification. That means House is a varied house means you have a small house, you have a big house, you have a two-storied house. What does this mean? That means inequality, rich, poor, stratification. The society was stratified based on that. This is what that has been communicated. Absence of palaces, temples, or large royal graves suggests that Harappan society may have been egalitarian or governed by regional elites. It may not be a king, it can be a group of regional elite people who might be controlling, who might have controlled the whole thing. And uniformity in weights, measures, brick size, and layout indicates that there is a centralized standardization. The weights, the measures, brick size were all uniform. There is a standardization. So you may not have a king, but there can be a regional elite as one possible theory that we have understood here. I have an idea regarding that. And how the decline of Harappan civilization came. The mature Harappan urban centers declined, and you can say ecological change, drying up of rivers, especially the Gagar Hakra is one such thing. The famous theory by water fair service. The ecological imbalance theory is also important. One is soil degradation or over-exploitation of resources, flooding, tectonic activity, earthquake. These are all possible things. Decline in trade, collapse of trade with Mesopotamia, internal social collapse, decline in standardization and administration. So after 1900 BC, you can see Harappan sites show evidence of ruralization, loss of writing, decline in urban planning, and shifting in east settlement patterns. You can take a look at the settlement patterns towards the eastern parts of India. Let's understand this. So we have completed all these important aspects, seals, communication, etc. So settlement patterns eastward. What do you mean by this? So one thing that you have to notice, look at the map here. You talking about Indus Valley or Harappan civilization at this point. Afterwards, there was an eastward expansion. People started to move towards the eastern part of India. This is what is called going eastwards. Because these areas were completely forest. You need to clear those forests, and slowly people started to move eastward. So these are all the decline theory, and some people even say the Aryan invasion theory. The Aryans came and the Aryans destroyed the Indus Valley. This is one such theory also. There are many theories which is behind the decline of Harappan civilization. Know it. Okay. So most number of theories are from this. And archaeology, look at the important people. Pioneers like Dayaram Sahni, remember Harappa, and R.D. Banerjee, Mohenjo-daro. So when you see who discovered Harappa means remember Dayaram Sahni and R.D. Banerjee of Mohenjo-daro. It all happened within the year of 1 year. Harappa was found first and Mohenjo-daro later. And you used a lot of techniques like stratigraphy, carbon dating, zooarchaeology, archaeobotany. So all these are techniques that you do to reconstruct history is something that we have to understand here. Zooarchaeology and archaeobotany might be new things for you. But this is how we find out carbon dating is also exhaustively used. And remember some of the last important points like Dholavira. These can be prelims questions. That is why I'm giving you these extra facts from the NCERT. Dholavira had a unique water management system using tanks, dams, and reservoir. So next time you listen Dholavira, remember hydraulic engineering. With the only city with a clear city layout of 3 divisions, citadel, middle town, and the lower town. So 3-storied structure can be only found in Dholavira. Remember this, citadel, middle, and the lower town. The presence of water conservation architecture shows the presence of water conservation, because obviously Gujarat, when you talk about Gujarat, rainfall is very less. So obviously water conservation measures are very high. So know about all this hydraulic engineering in Dholavira. Dholavira also yielded a large signboard inscription using Harappan script. 10 letters on a wooden board placed above the gate. This is the longest Harappan inscription found till that is in Dholavira. So have this idea. The first thing is inscription in Dholavira. 10 longest Harappan inscription found in Dholavira. So remember that is also in Dholavira. And no evidence of temple. Unlike in Mesopotamia and Egypt, Harappans did not build massive temples. We already discussed that point. So that is already merchant elite governance system is something. Burial diversity. As I said, some used inhumation. Urn burials, secondary burials where bones were buried later. In Lothal, some graves had head burial separately. You put the head separately. In Lothal, you had found head separately. No large-scale funerary architecture like pyramids or megaliths suggesting egalitarian death practice. Whether you die rich, whether you die poor, whether you die middle class, everything is the same. That is what is called an egalitarian death practice. Whether you're rich, 1 second, give me 1 second. I need to plug in my charger, 1 second. Okay, so coming back. So egalitarian means whether you're rich, poor, you die the same thing. And large-scale pyramid and megalith-style things are not found in Indus Valley. Headless, head buried separately is a very different thing that you can find. And the most important, I will cover this in the art and culture portion. Pashupati Mahadeva, which is a proto-form of Shiva. It is a unicorn motive appearing in the seal, Pashupati Mahadeva seal, which we'll understand. But apart from that, unicorn is mentioned here. The presence of swastika, people leaf are all important aspects to be found in this. So these are all symbols and part of this. And moving on to the next important content. The absence of iron and horses. Iron is not discovered in this period. There's a previous year question paper. Horses. No trace of iron tools or weapons. Firmly a Bronze Age culture. It's a very different. Iron Age is actually a different period. So imagine that you're talking about the prehistoric period, the Mesolithic period, the Neolithic period, even the Indus Valley Civilization later, the Vedic society, the later Vedic period. Iron is actually discovered here. We're talking about this period. So iron is coming in this phase. So imagine how much period you have to go forward. So do you have the examples or reference of horses? No depiction of horses. So some later Harappan sites have controversial claims of horse bones. But it is a controversial stuff. Some people say that horse are not available, but places like Surkotada, there are claims of finding horse bones from that. That is the most important things that you need to be finding in there. So end of urbanization, not civilization. Please remember this point. The Harappan collapse was not total. Many sites continued in rural. I already started the session by saying that it did not collapse. 1,000 people did not die one morning. It declined and it went into ruralization. It went into a rural system. Gagar Hakra, belt, everything changed actually. That is something that we have to understand from this. So yeah, all these theories are something that we already discussed. Yeah, Harappa, there is an evidence of fractional burial and symmetry etch at Harappa. H-shaped symmetry is found in Harappa. These can be prelims questions. Lapis lazuli trade from Shortugai to Mesopotamia indicates value chain. Lapis lazuli is a blue stone. Mesopotamian texts mention 3 places: Meluha, Harappan area, Magan is Oman, and Dilmun is Bahrain. So please get this. They can be asked in the match the following question. Meluha is India, Harappa, Magan is Oman, and Dilmun is Bahrain. So these points also should be remembered for your prelims examination. So the average length of inscription is 5 symbols. 10 symbols, 10 letters was found in Dholavira. So fines glazed clay material, non-clay material was used for making beads and bangles. So remember, this is the material, a glazed non-clay material called faience. And I said binary and decimal system was used. Cube-shaped weights made of shirt, important for economic standardization. So weight, measures, everything was standard. Cube-shaped weights and standard weights, which binary and decimal systems were also there. So these features can all be important for your MCQ. So this is it. Without art and culture, the whole area is completed. So in the next, we'll complete later Vedic period and Vedic period. Okay. Keep listening to IAS Factor. Thank you.